Welcome to Vermont. Today's project is trying to repair a leaking bulkhead. It's been leaking in all of the joints. I think I've got that fixed last year by welding the seams closed, but today I'm trying to put a crown here in the center with that 2x4. Last winter, ice and snow was melting, flooding to the center of the bulkhead there and leaking in, flooding over into the doors. So I jacked this up with a 2x4 and a bottle jack to put a crown into it, and I'm going to try to weld some sort of a stiffener brace in there to hold that strong enough for the kids climbing on it or snow falling off the roof. And so that's what I'm up to today. It's a pretty day, the end of May. Some rain coming in the afternoon, but for the moment, certainly a nice enough day to be outdoors. So I'm just hauling out my welder. It's a 120-240 bottle fed multi-process welder. Eastwood. I bought it a few years ago to repair my Ford pickup. Anyway, dragging it out to the backyard and getting it set up. Just going to take some measurements now to see how much steel I need. I'm going to be using a piece of old bed frame, thanks to a friend up northern Vermont that handed that to me a few weeks ago, and I'm just getting around to using it. So I'll put that to work here. Measurement here across 53 inches. With some room to spare, so 53 inches. And just getting that measurement scratched into the angle iron here, and going to cut that to length. So just prepping all of the locations in the bulkhead where I think I'm going to place the iron. My plan changed later when I put the piece in place. I changed my method of fixturing it, or where I thought it would be out of the way and not hit me in the head walking out, or where I thought it would just be maybe easier and a little cleaner install. So turns out where I prepped all the steel here isn't where I welded the iron, and I didn't bother to go back and prep everything along the way. So you'll see in the future here, pretty dirty welding, nothing to be proud of. Just blasted through the paint and trying to get it to stick. So not a structural job or anything like that. Just trying to keep water from running into the doors. So certainly not my best job here. So then here, prepping the steel that I just cut to length. As you can see, I got it to a nice semi-gloss dull finish. So, and then I wanted to show you my setup for the 120 welding rig. This, I know what you're all thinking, and you're right. This didn't work well. I got a few passes done on the welder and then blew a breaker. Here's my settings for how I started welding, and you'll all have opinions on that, I'm sure. I later found out my wire feed was way too slow, and I also turned my bottle on, my gas, and forgot to set my regulator, so my first few passes didn't sound right. I was welding with no gas coming out the nozzle, so Like I said, it's been a while. I'm just out of practice, all these little things. And as I said, I had to change my arrangement. My extension cord into the 120 feet of my welder wasn't working. Tripped a circuit breaker, and so had to pull out a generator and just run it directly from that. So, how many of you saw this coming? Yep, I did too. Okay, there's some pretty shabby welding. Not that pretty. Running 120 volts. So I'm having a challenge dialing it in and getting the right feed and voltage at the limits of operating 120. And so I think that's well anchored. So I've got a gap here in the center, lifted by this 2x4 on a jack, and you can see the gap there. I'm trying to give a crown to this enclosure, so I'm going to go cut some stilts and braces and weld it to each piece here to hold that gap. Hold it proud. So that's what I'll be working on now. Well, I didn't show in work, but I just cut a 2-inch length of that L bracing off the end of the scrap and fitted up here where the gap was, pushed it up as much as it would go, and welded across the top and down each side across the bottom. So that will keep, hopefully that will keep the bulkhead enclosure from settling down when the kids are climbing on it or when snow and ice fall off the roof. Yeah, we'll learn about that here through one more winter. All right, a little bit hard to see, so I got to level out. Shows you there's a crown there in the center. This can rock up and down here. So same with down here. So pretty messy welding. Not Brandon Lund quality at all. But I think it's good. Not going to go anywhere. I think my problem was I learned my wire feed was too slow. and haven't been welding in a while, so it's one of those things you gotta keep working at it. I'm gonna throw some paint on the work areas and then call that a day. Thanks for watching. Here's a good example of what not to do. Plenty of room for improvement. Have a great day. Thanks for visiting Vermont.